The Nissan Serena e-Power is back for an all-new generation, and as with the car before, you're getting a car that's very nicely packaged, except that this time around it comes in a new stylish body. It's all in the details really. The closer you look, the more you start to appreciate the car. It's also competitively priced as well, around $10 at Toys R Us. So I think this is a real buy for me. That's all from this video. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye! Alright, we're just kidding. We do have the all-new Serena e-Power with us today, and we are going to take you guys around the car and tell you guys what we think of it. Oh wait, sorry, just give me a moment. There we go, like that maybe, yeah, and... MPVs may not be the most groundbreaking, exciting, or most fun to drive vehicles on our roads, but let's be clear, we will always need them for the space and practicality that they deliver. To that end, the previous generation Serena e-Power was quite a hit on Singapore's roads, delivering both efficiency as well as lots of space in its single frame. And now we have its successor, the all-new Serena e-Power. While this is only the second official generation of the Serena e-Power to be sold in Singapore, this actually marks the 6th generation overall for the entire nameplate if you're counting all the way to its original lineage in Japan. And I feel like as a 6th generation 2024 car, this looks as good as MPVs come today. We get a modernized reinterpretation of this Nissan's V-Motion grille, and I like how neatly everything is integrated into these horizontal slats. At first, you might not be clear as to where the DRLs and main beams are, but they're right here, as you can see. These are the daytime running lights, and the main beams have been very neatly integrated into the chrome pieces. And going back to those DRLs for a while, you also notice that this is where the indicators are integrated. Very nice. Now let's go check out the rest of the car. I think the side profile is the angle from which you might have a bit of difficulty setting this apart from its predecessor because it's more or less the same kind of boxy shape. But one thing I do want to point out is that the new Serena e-Power is shorter and narrower than before, although it has a wheelbase that is 10mm longer. Now let's go check out the rear. Come round to the rear and we likewise get a neatened out look with this slim taillights that are straighter and not so much like the squiggly ones that we saw on the previous Serena. These connect very seamlessly into this chrome piece here. If I open up the tailgate, I'll be greeted by a 280-litre boot with all of the seats up. As you can see, if your rear passengers are sitting quite upright, you still have room to fit a full-size luggage as well as the anti-trolley upright, although not lying flat, of course. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to get these seats up so that we can create more luggage space, but it takes a bit of work, so bear with me. So what I have to do is I have to fold this seat down, then I have to pull this over here, lift it up, and then lock it into place. Then we have a strap over here that locks onto a hook here. And ta-da! You have a very flat loading bay, easy for us to fit items in. Now I can fit the anti-trolley lengthwise in like that, no problem, or a full-size luggage as well. And that goes in very nicely like that. Another cool feature that I want to show you guys is we live in HDBs and we all have to encounter multi-story car parks regularly, right? So let's say you're parked up against a wall and there's not enough space for you to open the entire tailgate. What do? Instead of opening the boot over here, we can also open this over here, and that makes it very easy for me to just retrieve items out of the boot. It's a very handy touch. It's something that the previous Serena also had, and I'm very glad that they retained it on this new Serena. Now let's go check out the front. As with before, because we are in the Highway Star 7-seater top of the line trim, we get dual powered sliding doors, which makes entering the car very easy. Also making the entrance easy is the fact that we have a very low floor, as well as grab handles, so if you're carrying people like your elderly parents around, this is going to be a great car for them. Well, this has been set up into the normal seating position, and as you can see, I have lots of legroom, lots of headroom as well, because Nissan says that we have a 1.4 meter tall space in the Serena. And of course, if this is not a comfortable seating position for you, you can always adjust it with all manner of adjustments. I can slide it forward if I want to, and backwards. I can recline it. So yeah, many ways to get comfortable here. Also, we have stuff like a fold-away table with not just one, but 2 cup holders. Very nice. As well as a USB-C port, which has been neatly hidden over here. So there's really no reason for you to not have your phone fully charged when you're on board the Serena. Other creature comforts we have here, we also get window shades, which are perfect for a sunny day like this. Not sure if you can see that my shirt is getting sweaty. And also we have tri-zone air conditioning. I have my own air conditioning controls right up here, which is perfect. Normally, if you want to let your passengers get into the rear a bit easier, you leave this aisle just unobstructed so that they can get in easily. And it's quite easy, as you can see. But if you're feeling, like you want to spend a bit more intimate time with your passengers, you can always... Hold up. Then you can always scooch over so that there's no gap between you and them. Perfect for, I don't know who, but I'm sure someone will find a use for it, yeah. Let's go check out the rear. And as you can see, even if you're in the third row, life doesn't have to feel like you've been subjected to medieval torture, you get lots of legroom still. I'm 1.74 meters tall for reference. And because the Serena's roofline doesn't really taper towards the rear, headroom is very, very good too, which is what we love, especially from full-size MPVs. And also, one other thing I want to point out is the fact that you even get fold-away tray tables for your third row. With a cup holder, you have 2 more cup holders here, and on the other side you have the same thing, so I guess Nissan wants the third row passengers to be well hydrated. I'm not too sure what the purpose of having so many cup holders is, but it's a good thing. Other amenities you have at the rear include USB-C charging ports on both sides. Again, no reason to not have your phone be fully charged. Other highlights from the third row, we get large glass windows here, so you don't feel too claustrophobic back here. Another thing to note is that the Napa leather quilted stitching comes all the way to the third row, which is quite a premium touch, I would say. And also we have air conditioning vents, so I don't have to suffer in the sweltering heat of Singapore. And finally, I'm not too sure why the third row passengers will need to operate the dual powered sliding doors on their own, but Nissan has also fitted buttons here for them to use. So if I want to help the passenger in front of me alight and they are maybe a bit too lazy to move their arms, I can just press a button here and the left door opens. Nice! Now let's go check out the front. There are many things that are calling out for your attention when you first step into the driver's seat, but I think the first thing that will stand out immediately to you is just how vastly improved this space is, and my oh my, what an improvement it is. So the Serena follows today's trends, first of all, with this single-ish panel that combines 2 screens, except that for perhaps a bit more intuitiveness and a bit more ease of operation, we get them in staggered heights. We have a 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen here, as well as a 12.3-inch digital driver's display. The graphics are honestly quite nice, I must say. One thing that I really like about this screen over here in a particular display mode is the fact that we get a digital image of the Serena, which is very nice to look at on the road. And also for this infotainment system, one commendable thing is the fact that it supports both Apple CarPlay as well as Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay connection is wireless, which is a feature that we normally see on more premium cars. Another thing that I really like about this new dashboard is this new control panel for your climate control, which again feels so much more upmarket and modern than the setup that we first saw on the previous generation Serena e-Power. So you can see stuff like your air conditioning, you get proper physical dials, yay, control your temperature. Your fan speed, well, it's touch operated, but it's still quite intuitive and it's always there, so you don't have to dive into any menus. And if I want to help my rear passengers control the air conditioning, I can just tap this button here and I get to control their temperature as well. And as mentioned, we have tri-zone air conditioning, so you and your front passenger don't have to fight about what is the best temperature to keep the car's AC at. I think one thing that surprised me about the Serena e-Power is just how many physical buttons this car still retains for a modern car. And that goes all the way down to the fact that even when I'm changing gears, like if I'm going from reverse to drive, it's all via physical buttons. It's a bit of an uncommon setup, I would say. It might take a bit of getting used to, but I think by day 2 or day 3 of the car, this will become almost second nature. Also, controlled via physical buttons are your steering wheel controls, which is very nice, your e-pedal driving mode, which I will demonstrate later on, and also your dual power sliding doors as well as your drive mode here. So it's really quite a huge barrage of buttons. I don't want to fault Nissan and say, oh, they're putting too much buttons in, because as car journalists, we've been begging for the longest time, please put physical buttons back in the car. I think Nissan has gone in the other opposite end this time around, but I'm gonna take it. We're in the top of the line trim as mentioned earlier, so you get kind of premium-ish features and fittings on the car. Soft touch materials on the dashboard. We have this matte wooden-ish grain trim, and also Napa leather coated seats as I showed you just now in second row and the third row. But also what you want in an MPV is space and functionality. So we get nifty features such as a wireless phone charging tray right here. If you prefer to use a cable instead, we have a USB-A as well as a USB-C port. And also important things, cup holders. We have them on the dash right here and there as well. Your door bins are also an okay-ish size, I would say, able to swallow 500 ml bottles. So honestly, the front of the cabin is quite quite a nice space to be in already, but again, it's not without its faults like most other cars. For example, if you're not a fan of black gloss material, then you have to be careful of this control panel, because while it does look very modern and classy, I would say that this is also a fingerprint and dust magnet. In fact, this is the state that it has been after just one day. We didn't do anything, and yeah, I think it's a good reflection of how life with the Serena e-Power will be like. Another weird thing that I want to point out is the fact that the central column here, on the right side, it protrudes out a bit weirdly. So for the driver, when you're stepping in the car, you'll definitely feel this kind of protrusion against your left leg. It's not the most comfortable, I would say, but at the same time, also not a deal breaker by any means. Just something that you want to take note of. But otherwise, I really like what Nissan has done with this space. I think it's a great improvement from what the previous car had, like I mentioned, and I think it's very befitting of the new Serena's e-Power's more premium and more sophisticated identity. With all that said and done, I think it's time to take this car out for a road, so let's go for a drive. The Nissan Serena e-Power Hybrid is priced at around $215,000. Its onboard 1.4-litre engine powers an electric motor that produces 161 brake horsepower and 315 Nm of torque, setting the car from 0 to 100 km per hour in 10.3 seconds. The Nissan Serena e-Power has a claimed fuel consumption of 20.4 km per litre. For more details on the Nissan Serena e-Power or any other car, head on to sgcarmart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. Now, it's not just the Serena e-Power's interior that has improved, but also its powertrain as well. And before we begin, I think we are duty-bound to explain again what exactly e-Power is as a hybrid system. So in your conventional hybrids, you get an electric motor, you also get an engine, and these either take turns to directly power the car or power the car in combination. On an e-Power model, the engine on board serves purely as a generator for an onboard battery, which then sends power to an electric motor, which then sends power to the wheels. So on some level, this Serena e-Power is an EV, on another level, it's a hybrid. That's just the way it works. And this Serena e-Power uses the second generation e-Power system that has both a more powerful generator as well as a more powerful electric motor. In the past, we had a 1.2-litre engine as well as a 134 brake horsepower electric motor. Now we have a 1.4-litre engine acting as a generator as well as a 161 brake horsepower electric motor that also produces 315 Nm of instant torque. So these are better figures than before. And that 1.4-litre engine that acts as a generator, it's not just more powerful than before, it also brings with it upgrades and refinement. So what Nissan has told us is that this engine actually utilizes ambient noise sensors on board to decide when it wants to recharge the battery, and that is supposed to shield the occupants a bit more from the drone that comes from recharging the battery. So I'm just going to show you guys that in just a bit. So we're currently stopped. The car is very silent, as you'd expect from a hybrid, but when I hit the accelerator and we start moving, I can already hear that, you know, the generator has started to charge the battery up, and I think that's really quite a cool feature that Nissan has kind of integrated into the new generation of this e-Power system. Now, what this new system also aims to do is to reduce the noise, vibration, and harshness that makes its way into the cabin. And to that end, I think that the Serena e-Power does things very well. It's very relaxing to drive on the move. Now, don't get me wrong, you still get that droning sound that comes from when the generator is trying to recharge the battery if you mash your foot to the accelerator. But honestly, with the way you're driving an MPV, that's rarely going to happen. You're not trying to beat people off the lights, right? And adding on to that, on just like a structural level, I think the cabin of the new Nissan Serena e-Power is very well insulated as well. Aiding that as well in this 7-seater Highway Star Prestige variant is the fact that we get acoustic glass on the windscreen as well as these two front windows, which helps to reduce noise that comes in the cabin. You're quite well shielded from wind noise, tire roar, and the like when you're driving at speed on the expressway. As you'd expect from an MPV, the steering is light and rather vague. It doesn't really give you much feedback. But then again, we're driving an MPV, so if you're looking for those sorts of qualities, then perhaps it's not an MPV that you should be shopping for. And I would say that, in fact, this light steering is very, very coherent and in line with the car's entire gentle and very soft demeanor. It also helps when you're driving up multi-story car parks, which I do. I live in a HDB flat, however, MSCP, and it doesn't have to put your arms through a workout every time you're climbing the ramps. Another thing that I want to point out is the fact that because the Nissan Serena e-Power's body is not that wide, It actually feels very easy to drive. You have very good all-round visibility because of the glass windows. Even if I don't put that intelligent rear view mirror up, I can still see very clearly out the back. You might think at first, oh, this is a big car, I'm gonna be a bit scared when I'm behind the wheel, but no, you don't get any of that fear when you're behind the wheel just because of how relaxing it is. Another thing that I want to point out is the fact that you get quite a good range of driving assistance features on the Serena e-Power in this 7-seater variant. So we have adaptive cruise control, we have blind spot monitoring, we even have a driver alertness monitor. So it's basically kind of like equipped and loaded up with all the modern safety features that you want from a 2024 car. Interesting thing to note is the fact that we have 3 driving modes, Eco, Standard, as well as Sport, which is a bit weird on an MPV. But anytime you want a bit more power, you do have that button that you can hit. As you would get with other e-Power models in Nissan's lineup as well, we do get a 1-pedal driving mode that Nissan has called e-pedal. So if I just depress this square button over here, this activates 1-pedal driving. To be honest, it's not my favorite feature. It's not something that I use when I'm driving this car, because even when I'm driving an EV, I like to turn creep mode on. But more options are always better to have than fewer, right? And I'm sure this is something that certain drivers might appreciate still. Also, the Nissan Serena e-Power only has a turning radius of 5.7 meters, so navigating U-turns is really easy. And as you can see, I just did it with one hand because that's just how light the steering is. So I'm going to put this car into eco mode now, which activates a bit of the regen braking. And even with that factored in, the brakes feel quite well modulated, very linear and smooth in their feel. Of course, when you're buying the Serena e-Power, passenger comfort is extremely important as well. And so, for this portion of the drive, I'm right here in the second row. And even right here towards the rear of the car, the suspension feels very soft, the car is very comfortable, the ride feels quite settled. And because we have these large windows, even with this window shade up, I feel like the cabin is very airy, very light. It's just a very pleasant and nice place to be in. All of this brings us to the most important question of the video. Is the Nissan Serena e-Power a will buy, a won't buy, or a go try? This is definitely a will buy for me. I think that the new Serena e-Power packs on so much more in terms of style, in terms of interior build quality, as well as refinement, and a bit more power as well over its predecessor. And all these improvements are so difficult to look away from. Again, we have to make concessions and be objective. If fuel consumption is really your singular goal in a car and like nothing else matters, then perhaps the Nissan Serena e-Power isn't for you. When you compare it to some of its rivals out there, such as the Honda Stepwagon Spada Hybrid, as well as the Noah and Voxy Hybrid Twins, this car is unfortunately going to fall short in terms of fuel consumption. With a good mix of highway and city driving, I would say we managed to get close to 16 kilometers per litre. In isolation, it's actually not a bad figure, but when we compare it to the heights that are reached by the Noah and Voxy, I think those are getting closer to maybe even 18, 19, 20 kilometers per litre. This is where the Serena e-Power falls short. But I would say that for me, its style, the nifty features that it has, such as that dual tailgate opening, its level of equipment, these very nice Napa leather seats, all these combined together in the package are more than enough for me to overlook the shortfall in fuel efficiency that it has over its competitors. And I must also point out one edge that the Serena e-Power has over its direct rivals, the Stepwagon and Noah/Voxy, which is the fact that this is, to my knowledge, the only factory-fitted, authorized dealer-backed mid/full-size MPV that you can get on the market today. The rest are currently only sold by parallel importers. So if you really want that kind of like stock experience in terms of owning a mid/full-size MPV, this is kind of your only option on the market. Plus the fact that even against those cars, I would say the Serena e-Power is quite competitively priced. Let's put crazy COE premiums out of the picture and look at things from a relative level. I would say that this is still quite reasonably priced for today's market standards. And I also want to emphasize that it's not that the other two cars are bad, but it's just a matter of taste and preference, I would say. And I know that the Serena e-Power is up my alley, so this is definitely a will buy for me. So there you have it, guys. That was our review of the all-new Nissan Serena e-Power. What are your thoughts on this car as well as Nissan's e-Power system? Is this something you'd have over the Stepwagon as well as the Noah and Voxy? Let us know in the comments. If you've liked this video, don't forget to like and share it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also follow us on TikTok at Sgcarmart for more of the fun stuff. For now, that's all from me. I'm just going to be enjoying my drive from here on. Bye! Woo! Subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on Sgcarmart at on TikTok at Sgcarmart. As before, you're getting a car that is, you know, packaged very smartly, very tightly. Oops. In fact, a little bit too tightly, I might say.
What are you doing? What are you doing, man? What are you doing, man?